Hey there, I'm Sarah Zarella, a portrait and wedding photographer and your host for Wedding Secrets Unveiled. This is a podcast where we cut through the complexity of wedding planning, leaving you with everything you need to know directly from the industry experts. If you want to simplify your wedding planning while having fun, of course, you came to the right place. Join me while I guide you through your planning, starting from your engagement to your big day when you say, I do. After photographing for over 20 years, I am sharing with you tips and tricks to cut through the excess noise. Because I believe from the moment you said yes, your planning experience should be a magical time in your life. Here you'll find episodes that are fun, stress-free, and straight to the point with a fresh, honest take on the reality of what you really need to know about planning your perfect day. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Wedding Secrets Unveiled podcast, friends. I'm your host, Sarah Zarella, and I am here today with the owner and founder of LMproductions, Larry. What we're going to talk about today is wedding film, right? What makes a great wedding film? What has changed in the industry? What are some trends? We're also going to cover a little bit about social media and how that has impacted his industry. And then Larry's going to tell you why he hates licensing music. So if you are interested in the world of filmmaking, and if you're thinking about having it for your wedding, this is the podcast episode for you. Well, welcome back to Wedding Secrets Unveiled podcast, friends. So I am here with Larry. Well, hello.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going. All right, Larry. So you're in the hot seat. So tell our listeners a little bit about who you are, who you serve, and what you do.
I'm Larry with LMproductions. We are a full-service wedding videography company. We do other stuff besides weddings, but weddings are definitely our bread and butter. We serve essentially all of New England. We'll travel if asked. And I've been doing this. I've been doing weddings specifically this will be my 19th year.
I would say a while. I remember, you probably don't remember this, but we were I have a photographic memory. I mean, obviously, right? I remember eating the chicken circuit with you, the chicken dinner, and we were at Belmere. I mean, this is going back, I would say like 11, 12 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, you probably don't remember that, but I remember that was my first time I remember meeting you, at least. Yeah. But anyway,
was I complaining about the chicken? I complain about the chicken.
I don't know, Larry, but that memory stood out at that moment of eating chicken. So it would probably go hand in hand if you were complaining about the chicken.
Yeah, I was complaining about the vendor chicken.
But with that said, so you specialize in video production.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Weddings, commercials, events. Sort of fell into weddings, honestly, by accident. I was taking film in college. My college professor, actually, he was a wedding videographer, Dave Betancourt.
Yeah.
I kind of started tagging along with him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, to weddings, and I was like, I guess I could do this. I never thought I would still be doing it.
And here you are.
And here I am. So, pays the bills, and, it's not the worst job I've had.
No, and when you're good at it, you're good at it.
Yeah.
That's it. Enough said,
yeah.
Right? All right, but today, for our listeners, I want to thank you, Larry, for coming because I really wanted to talk about this. I mean, obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about wedding film and, all the ins and outs of that. But we're also going to talk about the trends, what's happening right now. And I would love to pick your brain about, well, you just have to listen to the episode about the trends. And I have a particular topic I want to hone in on a little bit with the trends. And let's just say it has something to do with social media. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Let's first talk a little bit about what makes a great wedding film.
So I feel like if you ask, you're going to get a different answer from a bunch of different people if you ask that. Obviously, going to sound, I guess, like a hipster, but it's still an art. This is an art. So it's going to be subjective. For me, I think the human element is what makes a good wedding film. What is the story behind the people and the persons at this wedding? So that is specifically what I am looking for. I love to focus on, it's not that I'm going to ignore the dress or the details. We're going to shoot all that. but the individuals are what make the wedding. They're what make it unique. So I try to hone in and focus on the story of the two humans that are getting married. Why are they getting married? Why are they here? What is their story? What makes them unique? And I try to show those emotions in their wedding film. So that is what I think makes a really good wedding film, just really telling the story of the humans that are involved.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, that was a kind of a jam-packed question. I was interested in how you were going to answer that, because ultimately, you're right. The difference with video or film and still is there's an element of personality. There's a story. So photography tells a story too, right? The still image. And I'm only talking from that because that's my end of what I do. Film does the same thing. But you're right. You're telling us there's a narrative. You're controlling the narrative.
Correct.
You are.
So
you have to make sure that you put yourself in those shoes,
yes,
right?
Yeah. You don't want it to feel like somebody else's wedding. And you also, at least for me, I don't want you to be able to. So with video, you have to have a style. At the same time, I don't want you to be able to stack couple A's video on top of couple B's video and like you just hit play and it's just like shot 1 is here, shot 2 is always here, shot 3 is always here, this audio is always here. I would lose my mind if I edited that way, because that would just be like a machine.
Yeah, and also too, you lose what you feel is the most important part of the wedding film, which is the human element.
So that is sort of what I focus on. I really try to make every film up to the style of the couple that I'm filming, and I really just try to focus on humans. And like I said, you kind of brought this up. I go over this too when I talk with the couples, before like how our approach to filming weddings. I always say, photo is gonna focus a lot on the details, they're gonna get a bunch of different shots of the dress. And the suit and all this stuff. And I said, yes, we're going to get that. And, I'm going to make sure those shots look really good, but they're not going to be, would you rather see 7 minutes of your dress and your rings and your shoes, or would you rather see your best friends and your grandmother? And, I think that's more important. I think that's what you want to see. It's the same as with any type of real documentary or film that you're going to watch. 99% of the time, the humans, that's the interesting.
And let me throw something else out there for you, a little curveball here to our listeners to think differently here, because we have a film and a photographer sitting here. You like you said, Larry. Yes, photographers will be photographing the details or the dress. Same thing with your film. You'll have the details of the dress. If you're a really good photographer, you should also have the friends and the emotion.
Oh, of course.
But here's the deal. Here's one thing that's different. You capture, as a still image, that emotion. You're putting your memory and your thoughts when you look at that. It's pulling that out of you. You're putting your memories back in. It takes you right back to that moment, the way things, maybe the sounds were around, or it's whatever you captured back in your memory. Like maybe you remember the way the wind felt on your, in your face that day, or you could remember how it smelled. I don't know, the way that, but that's your memories. With film, you're showing what's happening. So again, you control the narrative.
Yes.
So if you're not a good filmmaker, like you said, you're making it very cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is exactly what, we'll probably dive into this, but if you go to the larger companies, the national companies, it's all cookie cutter. It's all just, it's just, they look at it as just strictly, the client is a money sign, and this is what we've found that works. So this is how our films look. Film A looks the same as film B, looks the same as film C, and they're just rotating them out, and that's the exact opposite of what
you're doing,
what I want to do. My contract says on average we deliver. I do all the editing personally. I don't send the editing out. It's totally cool if other people do. I just can't do it. Like I feel like the editing
is part of the product.
The editing is the soul of the the video. The editing, like you can have. I will watch like films, even like Hollywood films. I'll watch Hollywood films where the cinematography is amazing and the editing is terrible, and I don't like it. Just ruins
it for you.
And the exact opposite. You could have really bad cinematography and really great editing, and that can save something that isn't very good. So the editing is kind of the soul, and like I said, when you go to those larger companies, you kind of lose that. It's just one product for every single person. So it's basically like every single person just gets this film, and we're just replacing the humans in the film, like in the everything is just the same.
It's like like that's. Let's talk about that. The difference between hiring a local independent person versus farming it out. I mean, it sounds like some of the way that these companies work, right, is they find a formula that works. It can, generically it works, right?
Yes.
So here's your product.
Yes.
So yes, do you have a film from your day? Sure.
Yeah. It's essentially an assembly line. Like it's an assembly line that they just use over and over. I will say the biggest thing that I don't know if you want to say they're lying, but it's definitely being dishonest. They will say like, all of our shooters are local. And sure, yes, all of the shooters, like let's pretend you're getting married in Newport. They're going to use a shooter that's within 40 miles of Newport, but they don't know that shooter. That shooter filled out, to be honest, they might have posted on Craigslist 2 weeks earlier. I'm not making this up. They might have posted on Facebook a month earlier and been like, hey, we have a wedding here in 2 weeks. We need a lead shooter. And you could get someone great. You could also get someone who's never been to a wedding before. And honestly, I know from experience that is exactly what happens.
Well, I can tell you it does because, a lot of times, obviously, you're not working with another videographer, right? Or a filmmaker. As a photographer, I am. I'm 100% what Larry is saying is happening. And like you said, you might get an amazing filmmaker who just needs an extra gig here or there, right? And maybe they have their own gig and they're just like, I'm going to fill up a date, and you're getting some talent.
Yeah.
You also can get someone who's literally never stepped foot at a wedding. And I mean, there was one time, I don't even know if Dan was with me that day. I don't know, but the videographer was asking me to calibrate his camera on site. And he had a Sony. I shoot Canon. First off, I don't even know how to begin to calibrate a Sony. So I really generally couldn't help him. But I was also what's happening?
There also just becomes, I feel like, a disconnect because these companies do this on purpose. They essentially hide the shooter from you because they want it. They don't want this to come to the forefront. They don't want you to realize, oh, this person doesn't actually work for this company. Right. They're just kind of found them. So they don't let you speak to them. Basically you just have some person show up on the day of the wedding. So they don't know, they just don't know the couple as well as someone if you were to go local. And, they're just not, I think it's just human nature. And again, this isn't for everybody, but I feel like if it is someone's own company and they're going to take a little more pride in the product, right, when it's just this chain where they're just going down the chain and saying, all right, person A wasn't available, so now we're going to person B to person C, and then you get person D to show up at the wedding, and this person is just shooting and then never looking at this footage again.
No.
So that's just they're just going one day and then that's it.
And that's why there is a cookie cutter because they're giving them the what they need. They're giving them a list. You need to do this, 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 and this because they're going to edit with that. So they're not, like you said, they're not creating that human element.
And you'll pay. I mean, I'll be completely honest. You're going to pay less. You'll pay a lot less.
You better be paying a lot less.
And you'll probably have a quicker turnaround. Like if I'm being completely honest, you'll probably get your film back within 3 to 4 weeks. But again, I just feel like it's not going to be personalized. It's just going to be this. It's going to be what every single other person in that company gets.
And honestly,
And that's okay for some people.
I was about to say
that's
there's a
okay for
clientele
some
for
people.
that.
Yeah, that's okay
Yeah.
for some people. I guess my biggest thing is I don't think everybody realizes that, because these companies, like, they're not going to come out and say that. They almost say the opposite, and that's the part that I'm not a huge fan of. Is that they try to pretend like they don't do that when that's exactly what they do. It's okay to do it. It's a good business model. It's just not something, I would personally do.
Right. Well, okay. With that said, let's talk now a little bit about what you're seeing with the trends, though. And just lay it on the line. What's the trends happening here?
All right. So we're going backwards.
Okay.
At least in video. So
What do you mean by that?
So I started, like I said, I started in 2006.
Okay.
When I started in 2006, everybody. So just for my age, I'm 41.
Ooh, Larry, you can tell you're not a female because you just said your age.
Was I 20? Was I then 22, 23? 23. I was 22 or 23, depending on what part of the year it was back then.
Yeah.
Like I said, I kind of tagged along with my college film professor at weddings. Saw what was done, and I was like, I could definitely, I knew I could do it. And a lot of the wedding films back then, they just were not very good. They were, a lot of wipes, circle wipes, fades. Just there was not any edit. It was basically the editing that was not very good. Right. It was very basic, and this giant long form video was what everybody wanted. So you were getting just full edits of the entire day, and then maybe you would get a 3-minute highlight. So I feel like my generation kind of came in and saw this, and we were like, we could probably, make these a lot more creative than they are. And we were looking more to tell us a story. We were looking to put a film together rather than a video.
Make a film, yes. Tell a story, almost like a movie production.
Yeah.
So for lack of better terms.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were looking for. And so I feel like around, 2000. I feel like people still wanted that long form film up until maybe 2013, 14. And then people just didn't want it anymore. They were like, no, we only want a 5 to 10 minute film. The long form film is coming back.
I see where you're going with this now. Yes.
People are asking me to do I still always offered them. So I always offer it as an add-on. If you couples will kind of say, well, how come it's only because it looks like it's a lot less to add on the long form, and it is. And I'm saying I try to explain to them, I know you're getting a longer content, but it's actually easier for me to put that together than it is to put the short films together. Because in the long form content, I'm just editing from camera to camera live while your ceremony is happening. So if your ceremony is an hour long, you're going to get an hour-long edit, and I'm just going to edit from camera A to camera B to camera C.
To fade it out. Yeah.
There's not much thinking to it. It's just that. Same with the rest of the day. The toast, all that's just going to be, we're just cutting back and forth between the different cameras. And like I said, that kind of went away where people didn't really want it. I still had it as an add-on, and now the past 2 or 3 years, people are jumping on that. They're jumping on the raw. Everybody wants the raw footage.
The raw footage, yes.
I know some people don't like to give it away. I don't care. I tell them all the time. I'm like, it's going to be shots. It's of my feet. It's going to be me definitely complaining that someone's holding up an iPad. I'm definitely going to be saying F words under my breath and stuff. I tell them, I'm like, you're going to get all this stuff. If you want it and you want to, I throw it on a hard drive. And I organize it by the day's event, and they can have it if that's but that's a thing that people never wanted, and that in the past 2-3 years too, people have been asking for to get the longer videos again, and then that raw footage again. So those are some trends.
Do you feel like they're watching the longer videos, or they just want to have it all?
I don't know. So people I always tell them I'm a terrible salesman. People are would you buy the longer video? And I say honestly, I wouldn't. But that's me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I say. The longer video, I guess, kind of pays off 20 years down the road. If you have kids and you want your kids to sit and watch the whole ceremony, the whole thing, I guess I can see it from like that point of view.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it, but I can see like
That it's happening.
I can
People
see the
want it.
value in it. So I'll get people email me and they'll ask. They'll be like, "Do you do a 90s style video?" And then I always reply like, "What does that mean?" Because some of them don't. Some of them think. A lot of them. This might bridge the gap, but like think it's just a dude with a camera, like a handheld camera going around like they did, and they want like that one long thing. And we don't use like long form cameras. Like there are specific cameras made for that.
Yeah.
And like we kind of like that's actually what I used when I started filming weddings. But we went away because I want to shoot with the 50 millimeter.
Yeah.
I want to shoot with an 85 millimeter. I want to give you like good crisp shots. And people almost are asking for the opposite. It's not everybody, but like I was not getting asked this 5 years ago, and I'm getting it asked constantly now.
Yeah. It's interesting that you see it's just I knew you were going to say that. I just knew it. I saw it coming down the pipeline. I see it. The only thing I don't see, and I guess where I'm going with this is I see people wanting it. I see videographers and filmmakers providing it. I just don't know what they're doing on the back end with it. I haven't gotten to that point yet. Like I haven't figured out like, are you sitting down and are you watching this? Because you're not posting it. It's too long.
Yeah.
So what? Where are we going with this footage?
I don't know.
It's just interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Another
if
trend.
anybody knows, just write in.
Super 8 is making like a big comeback. Okay. I'm probably not going to have a popular opinion on this. So I actually I'll admit this. I stole this. I told you Dave Betancourt got in. When Dave started, like his whole thing was he would film portions of the wedding with his 16 millimeter camera.
Okay.
For anyone, for anyone who doesn't know, there's an 8 millimeter, a 16 millimeter, and a 35 millimeter in film. And then to translate that to like digital, I guess you could say like a micro four thirds is an 8 millimeter, a crop sensor is a 16 millimeter, and then your full frame is your 35 millimeter. Anyway, he would go and he would film like the bride coming down the aisle and the bride getting in the dress, like just with like a couple clips here or there in 60 millimeter. First dance, a little bit of that. So when I started branching off on my own, I was like, I'm gonna steal that idea. But I had an 8 millimeter camera because they were a lot cheaper. Yeah. And I would do that, and I did it for like a handful of weddings, and I was like, I don't want to do this thing more. I don't. And nobody was asking for that. I was just doing it. Like that was just me wanting to be creative and do that. And now 8 millimeter, like there are couples just asking for it. And I like specifically like as part of their film, and I don't think this is going to be a super popular opinion, but I just feel like you can just emulate that in post. I know that there's going to be a lot of film people that are going to boo me for this, but I'm telling you, unless you're an actual film person, you can't tell the difference anymore.
No.
Side by side. If you are a film person, like you might be able to tell.
Or if you understand how to edit, that's the other thing.
But like I just feel like if like is that like do you want this like grainy footage now? Do you want that in 10 years? I guess that's my point. Mm-hmm. Like, you rather film it crisp. I would rather give you something that's like timeless that you can always watch. Yes. And then if you want it, you can still have it. But like, do you want this footage 10 years from now to look like this when maybe this trend has passed? And that's sort of like why I don't know.
Well, listen, this is why it's a trend.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking, and you know what, where you're coming from, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you're coming from being in the industry for so long and seeing trends come in and out. And you're thinking about the actual product that you're having. And like, it's different with a trend for raw footage. Sure, great, fine. You want your kids to watch it down the road, fine. Because you're thinking longevity. Like, okay, fine. But the actual product, you're thinking about, okay, it's a trend now, but it's compromising of the footage. So what are you going to do?
I mean, people used to put rugs in their bathroom.
Yeah.
And rugs like all over the house. And that was like, that was the in thing. But like, if you told someone to put rugs in their bathroom now, they'd be like, you're insane. So I just feel like it's something that's going to pass, and you're going to be like, oh, I wish I had like a nice clear shot of me coming down the aisle than like this Super 8 shot coming down the aisle. Again, I'm not telling people not to do it, and if people like, I used to do it. I just.
Well, you used to do it many years ago.
I did.
Hence why technology has. I understand that. It's the same thing that us photographers went through about 4 years ago. The editing world was dark and moody, like grainy, like. And I was like, do you? And we're getting out of that now. Do you like all those photographers that used to shoot with that muddy, dark, filtery? It's all post edit.
Yeah. Well, now it's just a flash. Everybody wants straight flash, and I'm just like, why? I'm like, I'm not a photographer. I could shoot like your wedding like this.
So it's so funny. So it's funny that you say that. So okay. So now all of those photographers, they're now shooting in vibrant colors because it's not the trend anymore. However, you just took it out of my. It's now this 1990 direct flash, like
just
red
buy
eye
a disposable camera.
Right.
I'll come to your wedding and shoot it.
I mean literally it makes, okay, like you said, it's a trend. I get it. It makes me cringe when I see it. And because we know that it's a trend. It will be out. It will be out very soon.
I guess I see, because like, again, I do all video. I almost like don't see things in still life. It's not how my brain works.
Yeah, I understand.
But so
I don't see it in film.
So when I see like the straight on flash, I know I could do that, if that makes sense, because I just feel like there's not that much skill behind pointing a flash at someone and pressing the shutter like that. Like a lot of people who don't understand the skill will be like, oh, well, you just show up and you press a button. That's not usually true, but I feel like when you're doing straight on flash, that's kind of what's happening. I mean, you can do it creatively. Don't get me wrong. I don't want people
no.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just a difference between the whole point of photo and video is like you're playing with the light.
Correct.
Like you're making an image out of light, and now instead you're just blasting. Like you're not actually you're using the light just to blast a subject.
And here's the thing. Like you said, it takes no skill. It takes no skill. Someone might be like, well, I don't care about the skill. I want the aesthetic. That's what makes it a trend. Because we promise you, we've been around long enough. We promise you that trend right now, like that retro trend, is going to leave.
Yeah.
And you're not going to want your photos to look like how your parents' photos look because they didn't have the technology then.
Yeah.
Period.
Or like the 80s photos were like, you got the silhouette in the, you know what I'm talking about? And like the faces here. Like that was great in 1985 and everybody liked it, but like you wouldn't, I just feel like if you do things that are,
don't do trends on your wedding day. How's that?
Good photos look this, the crispness and sharpness. This is the same for film. Like you can watch films from the 60s, and they're great. Yeah. They're because they're lit well. The cinematography is well. The editing is well. Sure, they're in black and white. That's like the only difference. But everything else is just really well done. And then you could look at like music videos from the 90s. Everybody is in a fisheye lens. Yep. Everything is very soft. It's like harsh lighting but soft at the same time. It's really hard to explain unless you know what I'm talking about. Everybody's dancing in like a cheese grater. And then that just went away, but that was like super cool for like 3 years. So I just feel like you don't want it. I feel like you're going to want this product to just look timeless as you get older. And
that's where we're kind of going with. It's like trends are cool, and you can you can mess with them. Like I always say on the photography end, like mess with it on your engagement photos. Do a trend, do another session, but on your wedding day, keep it timeless because you don't want to look at your photos and know what era it was photographed in by the editing. The only thing that you should give away is your clothes.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. So Larry, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, I would love to talk a little bit now about social media. Okay, and where's that going, and how, and a little bit more about how the industry has changed the last 15, 20 years.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Cool. I appreciate you being here. And hey, if you like what you're hearing, I encourage you to check out our website at sarahzarella.com. And don't forget, you can actually subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. And I would so appreciate if you left a fabulous review on Apple Podcast. Even better, share it with a friend. It's a great way to show your support. And now, let's get back to the episode. Well, welcome back to Wedding Secrets Unveiled podcast, friends. So before the break, Larry and I were getting really into the nitty gritty of trends, right?
Yes.
And so let's take it from there. How has the industry now have changed for you in the past 15, 20 years?
I almost no longer deliver actual physical media. When it started, everybody was getting a DVD. I had to make the DVDs, and I would actually make the DVD covers and print them out. Obviously, that completely went away. Everything is just digital now, which I personally think is easier, and it's much easier for the client to get their product. Touched on this a little bit before, although I said it's kind of coming back. Initially, everybody wanted that just really long edit of everything, and then it kind of shrunk down to just the highlight, the 5 to 10 minute highlight film. Although, like I said, that longer form is coming back. The gear itself has, especially for video, has really changed. I mean, when I started, there was no DSLRs or mirrorless cameras for video at all. So it was all long form cameras. Those are essentially like the handy cam cameras. They were professional ones that you put on your shoulder and you.
I mean, how many times do you tell people to move because they just stop and freeze and smiling at you?
Yeah. I always. Yeah. It's not. I mean, I always like
your cameras.
Me
at
cameras like this. It's video. It's video. It's video. Like there's actually I can't think of his name, but there's a wedding cinematographer I follow, and like he wore a sign to a wedding that said it's video. So
yeah, because your camera is essentially the same as mine.
They're the same. Where they weren't when I first started. It was like you could tell who video and who photo was. People will grab me all the time and be like, "Hey, can you take our photo?" And I'm like, "Well, I can, but I don't think you want me to. Let me go grab the photographer." Yeah. So the gear itself has come a long way, especially for video. It was near impossible to film in low light, 15 years ago, and the way that the technology has advanced, it's just crazy. Gimbals for video did not exist. You had to walk around with everything. So everything has become smaller, more compact. It's made it a lot easier. And the gear is a lot more accessible. It's still pricey, but I think it's actually come down because of just the accessibility. Every company is now in on this, and it's a huge industry. So those are some of the main things that I've noticed. Yeah. So I always tell couples when they reach out that I am like for 80% candid and then 20% where I do some posing. I think it's nearly impossible to say you're 100% candid. You just wouldn't get the shots. You just wouldn't get them. And I do tell them, and this is I do tell couples like, for the most part, I let photo take the lead, and I try to grab, what they're getting, because I want you to enjoy the wedding day. I don't want to make you do the same thing like 17 times for two different teams. But that being said, video is also a little bit different. So we always need movement. We need you to move. Otherwise, it looks weird. You're just staring at each other for 10 seconds straight. It looks real weird. We don't want that. So we do our best to capture all the candid moments, and we love the candid moments. I absolutely do. Like I'm not saying that I think the candid moments are great. Where if you do a first look, I love the moments like 5 minutes after the first look where they don't think anybody is like still watching them and they're just being themselves, and like I'm trying to capture like that kind of stuff. But if you want like when you see someone, with the sunset behind them and they're going to kiss and they kiss with the sun in between them, that's not candid.
No.
It's never going to be candid.
No.
We have to set that up. So that's why I say I think a good rule for video is 80% candid, 20% where we do some posing. So I always tell them in the beginning of the day, just relax, be yourselves, have fun. When you get into your dress, Photo's going to do the same thing. I'm going to talk with Photo. I'm just going to want you to be where the best light is. I'm going to turn all these orange lights off in the hotel rooms. Still have no clue why they put orange lights in, but they do. So we're just going to get all that off. We're going to put you where like the light is good. And I typically let it be as natural as possible, but sometimes like the dress is literally just a zip and it takes 2 seconds. And like if you want more shots with like your bridesmaid or your mom, then I'm going to say, hey, unzip that and zip it again. Look at your daughter. Tell her she's the prettiest bride you've ever seen. And I typically make them do stuff. And what I'm actually looking for is the stuff in between the weird stuff I'm telling them to do, because that's when they're themselves.
Yes.
But I'll sort of prompt them to say something or do something, and then they'll usually look at each other for like a good 3 or 4 seconds.
And then they'll relax.
And then they'll
laugh.
relax.
Yep.
And that's actually what I'm going to use.
That's the moment, yeah.
That's the moment that I'm looking for. So again, I think posing is important. I think it's more important for photo than it is for video. But we still need to do it a little bit.
Correct. And if you're working with a good photographer, they'll do it for you.
Yeah, a lot of times,
Yep. You're chasing the same light.
Yeah, we're chasing the same light for the most part.
All right, so random question. Talk to me about licensing music.
Oh, okay. So when we're editing videos, and it's, we have to use copyrighted music. It has to be licensed. Yep. It's gotten easier. That was actually something that you almost couldn't do 15 years ago, unless you wanted to pay, like $15,000 for a real song, like a pop song that was on the radio. But now there's a bunch of different music sites that you pay a subscription fee for. Typically, you can do it per song, but it's usually easier to just do it yearly. You just pay a fee, and then you can use any of the songs on those sites. Some of those sites do have, I guess, quote unquote, popular music. Most of the music, there's a lot of music like to go through, and a lot of it just doesn't fit the vibe for weddings.
Yeah.
So, and I try my best. I don't like to reuse songs unless with me, couples are more than welcome to pick their own music, but they have to pick it from the sites that I send them. Like you can't just say I want this Taylor Swift song, because it's not going to happen. If they want to pick it, they can browse it and let me know. But for the most part, they usually leave it up to me. And that in itself, it's just a tedious process, because I just gotta like listen to a bunch of stuff that I just don't think is very good.
If it's the mood or whatever
at all, and it's just song after song after song. I will say AI over the past year has made it a little easier, because now you can actually you can take songs that you like and put the link into AI, and then it'll find very similar songs. So that has actually been a huge thing. That's literally like maybe the past 3 months that has happened.
Yeah,
it's been so that's something that's been super helpful. But editing and licensing music, it's a very, very tedious process.
Yeah, I mean, AI, we are just dipping our feet in. I see a podcast episode in a year from now about talking about AI and what it's done.
Yeah.
What it's done. And but with that said, there is a topic that I really, really, really wanted to talk to you about. And I should have started with this, but I really wanted to save it for the end, right? There's a lot that that I have opinions about, but I want to get it from the expert filmmaker. Can we talk a little bit about social media?
Yes.
And the industry and also content creators. I mean, there's so much. So you start.
All right. Social media is a little cliche, but it's definitely a blessing and a curse at the same time. I was, again, I'm 41, so I was around for the creation of Facebook. Like I was around for the creation of Instagram. I've watched it grow, and so, for instance, with Facebook, there were no algorithms when like it first came out. I would put up a wedding video, and I'm not making this up. Like that video would get like 350,000 views because there was no it was just naturally being shared and no blocking.
Do you want to know a fun fact, random? So I went to college in Boston, and obviously Facebook was developed, and, and
right
the
there.
hub was in Boston, right? And I remember saying to some friends who are still my friends now, they're in Florida, and I'm like, "You have Facebook?" I literally remember saying that, like, "What?
Yeah, what is that?
We're on MySpace."
Yeah. Yeah.
They didn't know.
Yeah.
So, like, literally, when you say that resonates with me, like, because we're around the same age, when you say you watched the creation, we watched it.
Yeah, I literally like it didn't exist.
No.
For part of my life. So it was a really good. It's still a good tool, but like it was a really good tool back then because there were no ads. It just was a very natural process. It wasn't like a big business yet, so they weren't controlling like what was being pushed to the forefront. That has obviously changed, so that's a big thing. The biggest thing, a few things with social media. A lot of the content that I see, social media, like posting on social media, is almost becoming more important than the actual content of the business in some aspects. Like people, and I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not gonna dance and point to text. I'm just not gonna do it. I can't do it. I won't do it. Don't hate me for it. If you want to do it, that's totally cool. I'll like your videos too. But I just don't. That's just not me. It's not like my business. I'm trying to make a product. I'm not like I don't want to spend 3 hours a day figuring out how to do the electric slide. I'm dating myself. It's probably something else, but you know what I mean.
No, I get it. It's you're busy licensing images. I mean, music.
Yeah. So, but like that's just like it's almost become more about the person than like the content. On the page. So that's like a big difference that wasn't something that was going on 10
Dan and I
15
talk
years
about this
ago.
all the time. Like we literally like every season we're like or at least I say to Dan like we got to do more. We got to put more reels and post in our stories and we just don't have the time. We're too busy servicing our clients.
I post like I do like my couples will agree to. I'm very good at posting content.
Oh yeah. We'll do that.
Like from the actual weddings and stuff, but like I don't want to post content of me. I'm not interesting. What do I want to see? I post my dogs. I think they're interesting, but other than that, I just don't know. Like, but that's just a trend. I actually don't even think that's a trend. I think that's something that's here to stay. To be honest, I don't think that's a trend.
It's a cultural thing.
Yeah, I think that's something that's just that has just shifted, and that's just kind of how.
But I will tell you, with every pendulum, like this culture right now, like they are all about themselves. It will shift the other way. It will. People like. Posting will become different. I don't know what it's going to be, but with everything, I'm going to watch everything. It goes one way, and
it
the
does.
pendulum.
Yeah.
People are going to get sick of seeing themselves.
Yeah. Another thing with social media, it was so it's a great tool. It's really interesting. So going back to before, talking about like the big companies, a lot of times they will join wedding groups and then they post to find shooters. So social media has become a really good tool to find second shooters if you're in a bind, which I think is great. But I also feel like the opposite of that is companies are using it essentially as a staffing tool without having people to work weddings. And I think even like smaller companies are doing this now. So what I mean by that is you call up company A and you ask if they're available May 25th, and they don't even know if they're available. They just say yes. And then as soon as they get off the phone and they get a contract signed, they're just going to these sites and saying, hey, I need a shooter for this date. And I have seen a huge uptick with that in the past 2 or 3 years on social media. Like I never used to see that before, and now it's like it's nonstop.
Yeah.
And again, this is totally different than needing second shooters or like an emergency or something like that happens, or you're looking to hire. It's totally different. This is companies like literally booking weddings without shooting and then going there hoping to pull a shooter. And again, saw this maybe would see this maybe once a week 5 years ago. I see it. It's just nonstop now, where you just see it all the time. So that's a big trend in social media.
So what's your thoughts on content creation?
All right, so specifically at weddings or just in general?
At weddings.
Okay.
We're gonna. I mean, because that's a whole other show we could talk about in general. I'm just curious, your viewpoint of the new trend that people are doing in replace of film, content creation.
So it almost goes. I understand it. It almost, and I've been on a handful of weddings where they've hired a content creator, and there's a few things I think that people get this for, and I understand the aesthetic. One is, it just looks like everything else looks on the internet, if that makes sense, because there's so much content now. And everything is filmed with the phone that when you're scrolling through, Instagram or TikTok or Reels, everything is filmed vertically. Everything is filmed on your phone. So I think couples are used to seeing videos that way, where 10 years ago, vertical videos were almost not even a thing yet. Everything was filmed horizontally. So I think that's the thing. People are just used to seeing that, and they like that. They like that aesthetic. They also get... I don't know what all content creators do. I know some of them just give them 10, 30-second clips. Some of them give them all of the footage. But what they do get is they get it real fast.
Correct.
And I think that's another thing that is very appealing. So, the content creator comes out, and then literally maybe 2 days later, they have everything that they've gotten, because it's a different process than for us or for photo to have to go through all the footage that they're doing, because they're essentially filming the reels as they go, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're they come in with the push in and the pull out, and and I see it. They do trends. They do things that are
Do you feel that is going to merge into your industry and change it or replace, or do you just feel like it's just another thing to have?
I think it's a combination. I don't think it will fully replace it. I think some people will get it instead of video, but I don't think it'll make video. I don't think video is going to go away. But I do think that some couple, especially, it also depends. Weddings are not inexpensive endeavors. I totally understand that. And a content creator is most likely going to be less money than a full cinematographer. So you got to make it. Some couples might just have to make a choice, and I think that they might just go in that direction. And again, I think it's because they're used to seeing that type of footage, where if we had a time machine and I went back 15 years and I I think people wouldn't understand that footage then. They wouldn't make sense to them. It'd be this is just a bunch of random clips.
Nope.
But that's how Reels and TikTok and everything works now. So it works. It does work for couples. I think that content creation is going to be here for the long haul. I don't think it's a trend.
Do you think it's going to be the third thing? So, or do you think it's going to replace?
I don't.
Do you think it's going to be photography, film, and content creator, or do you think it's going to?
I think it. So I think the entire industry, at least for video, it's kind of a roundabout answer, but I think video. I feel like this actually might be for photo too. I feel like mid-tier vendors, mid-tier pricing vendors are going to be phased out. I think there's going to be, and a lot of that has to do with the bigger companies that are coming in. So you got the bigger companies, which we've talked about, but you can hire them and you can get photo and video for $1,800 to $2,000. It's both, not separate. That's combined price of both. And that they can do that because these companies aren't actually photo video companies; they're sales companies. All their money is going into advertisement. Their goal is to make, out of that $2,000, they're probably profiting $300. But they're doing 100 a weekend.
And they're producing the cookie cutter videos.
Yes, they're doing 100 a weekend. All of that is getting sent, most likely overseas, and that's how they keep the costs down. So I feel like you're going to have those type of vendors, and then like the newer vendors that will have those type of prices. And I feel like you're going to have high-end vendors. And I think sort of like the mid-range vendor is going to slowly dissipate in the industry. But with content creation, I think it's going to be like the same thing. I think for the high-end vendor, they'll just get both. You know, we're already like, we'll get photo.
They're taking their day and getting so much content. They want it all.
Yes, we'll also get content creation. I think now, when you come like to a lower end, you know, they might think, well, we're on a budget, so we're gonna choose either video or content. I think they're gonna pick or choose, but I think a lot like. I also think these companies, actually, I already know they are because I follow them. Like these companies are adding content creation.
Correct.
Now.
Yeah.
So like the national companies are now adding those.
Adding it as an add-on.
So you'll just, so again, I don't know if I have an exact answer. I don't think it's going to fully replace video. I think it will in small percentages. I think it will replace video in like a small percentage of weddings, but not in the grand scheme of things.
Because it's two totally different types.
It's two totally. Yeah. It's like, most of them, like most of the content creations I've seen, actually everyone I've personally seen, like they're not recording the vows. They're not they're just getting what they're getting. But like with video, we're getting all high quality audio and we're putting that back in. I haven't seen them do that yet. I don't even know. That's the thing. Like, at what point is it? Because if they're going to do that, are they putting a mic on them, and then am I putting a mic on them, and then is the DJ or band putting a mic on them?
Well, that's where I'm going with it. Like, so that's what's happening right now. That's what I'm seeing. So eventually, this will all. It's right now. It's a very interesting world that's happening right now. Right now. Because like literally the best analogy I can say is like video and photo play good in the sandbox. We've been together on weddings. We know that we go hand in hand. We know we play. I mean, obviously there's exceptions, but ultimately we're used to work. But now we got this third component, and this third component, it's such a new thing. And a lot of these people, I'm okay with the videographer, the cinematographer that now does content creation, or I'm okay with the photographer does it because we have the experience.
They're not like, I get what you're saying,
but we had the experience. Yeah. But now you get these randoms that all of a sudden have an iPhone. And now they're doing it, and they're really messing up the flow. But that will work itself out because like they don't understand the timeline, they don't understand the dynamics, they don't understand that the caterer, has to execute the kitchen right now. Like, I mean, that will work itself out. But it's gonna be I will have more of a handle after the end of the season where this is going because it really just started evolving the last two seasons.
Yes, yeah.
But like you said, it's here to stay. It's something. But I don't know what that something is yet.
Yeah, I think it's here to stay.
And like you said, like there's a point where, if you're miking up and you're doing all of that, when does it start turning in now back into the cinematography? And then the price point's not going to be the same because you're doing all the work now. So it's just a weird, interesting world right now that we're in. It's just something. I could do a whole show on it, basically.
Yeah, you could. I don't think it's going away. I think it's here to stay. I think it'll find its way to. I think we'll all eventually like integrate. I mean, I feel like when video first came in, it was the same kind of thing. I think like some photographers like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But now I don't deal with that at all anymore. Like they're just it's a videographer. He's here.
Right.
He's supposed to be here. So I think it's just kind of, and it's the reason that it's like weddings are, you can't mess up a wedding. You don't get a redo.
No.
So I think that's why people get a little territorial because we know we have to get our shots. Photo knew they had to get their shots, and then all of a sudden there's two videographers. So photo, it's like, hey, what are they doing here? But now they realize, it's totally fine. Usually. And I think it's now like content creations is coming in. So now like photo and video are like, hey, what's this person doing here? We got to get our shots.
But everybody has to play well, and everybody
correct.
has to not disturb the day, and and also to not exhaust the clientele. Because that's the problem.
Okay, that is a big. That's
where I'm going with this. What I'm saying is, I don't care if someone's here. You like honestly, totally honest with you. it is your wedding day. You have so many people that you're never going to get in one room together.
Yeah.
I want you to get everything and anything.
Yeah.
I want you to have the video. I want you to have the guest photos. I want you to have the guest videos. I want you to have the content creator. Like, I want you to have the photos. Like, but what I'm seeing, and it's going to work its way out, it will, is that you're exhausting. That the couple doesn't realize what they're doing to themselves, because now they are on for video, they're on for photo, and then all of a sudden they have the content creator, and like the content creators, some of them are not just getting content; they're actually manipulating the scene.
No, yeah,
and so they're
setting
much.
They're setting up like the reels that they like.
Yes.
I've seen it. Yeah, like they're like, oh,
It's like,
do this, and you're gonna take the robes off and do this.
Yes.
So yeah, it does take time. I'm guessing that this is something that they're discussing with the couple beforehand. I don't do it, so I don't know.
I can tell you, for the listeners, if you are going to have a content creator, I am not against it, but I'm going to tell you right now, make sure you discuss with your content creator, because there is some amazing content creators out there that we worked with, and that it's seamless. It's like another vendor. They get it, and then there's some that there's no that you can tell there's a disconnect, and they are really messing up some stuff. I'm just saying it. I'm being so truthful right now, because I'm not talking about like photo, because a true professional will get what we need.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that video photo. I'm talking about like just watching the couple the day of. Like all of a sudden this turns into like a reality TV show.
Yeah.
And it's hard to watch that with a couple because they don't realize that going into it, and then their day's over, and it's been all just a lot. What's the word I'm looking for? A lot of, like you said, jump here, jump that, take this robe off, take that robe. Yeah, it's just a lot.
You want to be able to enjoy the day.
Yes.
As much as possible. And I think that comes, I honestly think that comes with hiring experienced vendors.
Yes, that's like, where I'm going with.
I say this all the time. I say this on a couple of calls. Like, my goal is to not waste your time.
Yes.
I want you to enjoy the day. We'll get the shots that we need. And
that's it.
And I don't want to take away, like, your day is more important.
Yes.
Just enjoy the day.
All right, Larry. So with that said, I would love to know, random question, what's your wedding hot take?
Oh, God.
Put you in the hot seat here.
Take that money and put it towards a mortgage.
Ah, there you go. I like that one. All right. So now it's time for our wrap-up question, right? So for our wrap-up question, what are some key points that couples should be asking their film companies when they're inquiring to make sure that they are working with a professional company to ensure that their wedding day is absolutely perfect?
All right. So I think how long that they have been filming weddings is definitely a key. Most weddings have a rhythm. They have a rhythm to them, and it can get unbalanced a little bit here or there. But my point is like, we've done so many weddings that I've dealt with pretty much anything that could go wrong at a wedding. We've dealt with. Mm-hmm. So we have backup gear for our backup gear. I think that's actually another question. Ask if they have backup gear, what they're bringing. I also ask couples to ask about the backup policy for their data. Like, how are they shooting? I think that's very important.
Yes.
So for me, where everything is double card slots. And then, this is no lie, the first thing I do as soon as I'm home, that footage is dumped and it's backed up to 2 drives. It's literally like, it doesn't matter if I'm home at 9 o'clock or if I'm home at 1 o'clock. It's like, I can't go to bed. I'm paranoid. Like, I've knock on this table, I've never lost footage, but like, I'm just paranoid that I'm going to lose footage. So.
I don't even go out after a wedding. I go directly home.
I typically do the same
And
thing.
if I have to, like, it's so crazy. Like, if I have to stop at a gas station, I literally take those cards with me in my body possession.
I don't do that. But
I'm nuts.
Like,
I'm like, I'll be the first. I've done like, oh my God, what if my car gets stolen or something like that? Like, I just take it.
But like, I'm just like, they're backed up and they're on the cloud, because I'm like, I always feel like I'm going to come home and back it all up, and then my house is going to catch on fire. So, like, it's got to be to the cloud,
See,
too.
but you do the same thing.
Yeah,
I go to the gas station. You think your house is burning down.
I think so. Like, I put it into the cloud. So, like, that's my big thing. Make sure I think that they should know how long that they've been filming weddings, what they're doing with the footage afterwards. And then this is kind of their approach and style to filming a wedding, I think, is very important. Everyone does it a little different. I'm the first to admit that I'm more hands off than I am hands on. Like I like to, like I said, I'm 80% candid, 20% post. So we step in and we get those post shots when we need to. But for the most part, we just want you to be yourselves and enjoy the day. And you might not want that. Mm-hmm. Like you might want a ton of posing.
Yeah.
And if you do, like we're not the company for you. There are companies that do that, and you wanna find them. You wanna find, and this is probably the same for photo too. You just want to find someone that has your style and your vision. I think that's very important.
But asking these questions, we'll get to the bottom of it, basically. Yeah, those are great questions. Well, Larry, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of Wedding Secrets Unveiled. You helped our listeners become one step closer to a stress-free wedding planning. So, can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Oh, sure. You can find us on Instagram at LMproductions88. Same on TikTok, LMproductions88. You can go to our website at lmproductions88.com. You can search Facebook, LM Productions. We'll usually the first to come up. You can email us, info@lmproductions88.com. Hope to hear from you soon.
Yeah, and what I'll do for our listeners is I'll have Larry's information on our episode show notes, which you can find on our blog and our website page, which is at sarahzarella.com/podcast.
Perfect. And one other thing for all the listeners I forgot to mention, I do wear a fanny pack filled with dog treats to all my weddings, so I encourage you to bring dogs to your weddings.
I love that. There you go. Well, thanks, Larry. Thank you for listening to Wedding Secrets Unveiled. I appreciate you being here. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, I want to tell you something. I encourage you to check out our website at sarahzarella.com. We love photographing while having fun, of course. Check out our podcast page on our website for our show notes along with upcoming episodes with your local wedding experts. Listen in as we help you plan your epic event. And don't forget that you can actually subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening so you never miss an episode. I would so appreciate if you left a review for us on Apple Podcasts. Even better, share it with a friend. It's a great way to show your support and let us know what you think. If you know any wedding experts that would like to be a guest, we have a link directly on our website where they can let us know. Thank you for listening.